first question the police asked wasn't, "Where is she?" It wasn't, "Who took her?" It wasn't even, "Is she alive?" The first question was, "Is she lying?" A woman had just survived nearly 2 days of hell. Kidnapped, drugged, taken from her own bedroom in the middle of the night. And the moment she called for help, the people sworn to protect her didn't believe a single word. But here's what they didn't know yet. Someone else was watching the news. Someone who knew exactly what happened, because they were the one who did it. Part 1, Meet Denise. Before her name was on every front page in America, Denise Huskins was just living her life. Physical therapist, private person, quiet ambitions. She wasn't chasing fame. She wasn't making headlines. She was falling in love. His name was Quinn. New relationship, real feelings, a future forming. They had no idea that one ordinary Tuesday night would turn into the most extraordinary nightmare of their lives. Part 2, the night it happened. The house was dark. The street was quiet. Nothing felt wrong, until it did. After midnight, strange lights cut through the windows, then voices, footsteps, and then masked intruders burst through the door. Bright lights, rapid commands. Don't move, don't look, don't make a sound. Their wrists were bound. Their eyes were covered with darkened goggles. And then came something that made this feel less like a robbery and more like a performance. A pre-recorded voice began giving instructions. This wasn't chaos. This was choreographed. Aaron believed they were drugged. He couldn't fight back. He couldn't even think straight. And then he heard it. Footsteps leaving the room, the front door. Silence. Denise was gone. Part 3, the wrong question. Hours passed before Aaron broke free and called 911. And when detectives arrived, they didn't start a search. They started an interrogation. His timeline, his emotions, his reactions. Every word he said was picked apart, looking for cracks. Because the story sounded impossible. And when something sounds impossible, some investigators stop asking, "How did this happen?" and start asking, "Did this happen at all?" Part 4, she comes back, it gets worse. Nearly 2 days later, Denise reappeared. Hundreds of miles from Vallejo, near her family's home. She was alive. She was safe. For most people, that's the ending. Victim survives. Case confirmed. Move on. But not here. Instead of relief, authorities held a press conference and compared her case to Gone Girl, a movie about a woman who faked her own disappearance. Within hours, the story had exploded across social media. The victim became the suspect. The headlines wrote themselves, and somewhere, watching all of this unfold on a screen, was the man who actually took her, and he was furious. Part 5, the truth breaks open. Shortly after, local media outlets started receiving emails, anonymous, disturbing, detailed. Someone was claiming responsibility for the kidnapping, and they knew things that had never been made public. Things only the kidnapper could know. Investigators were skeptical at first. But then, a completely separate crime led police to a house in another California city, and what they found inside changed everything. Zip ties, darkened goggles, weapons, electronics, and items directly connected to Denise Huskins. The man inside was Matthew Muller, former immigration attorney, military training, and the architect of one of the most meticulously planned home invasions in California history. The impossible story was completely, painfully true. Part 6, The Reckoning. The evidence was undeniable. Matthew Muller eventually admitted what he did. He received lengthy federal and state prison sentences, and justice, at least in the legal sense, was served. But here's the question no courtroom can answer. How do you heal from a crime when the world spent weeks calling you a liar? How do you recover from the trauma when the trauma isn't just what happened to you, but how nobody believed you? Psychologists call the early failure here confirmation bias. The moment investigators decided on an answer and then bent every piece of evidence to fit it. It didn't require bad intentions, just the dangerous human habit of trusting assumptions over evidence. And for Denise and Aaron, that bias became a second wound, on top of the first one. Part 7, the ending she chose. Years later, Denise Huskins didn't disappear into silence. She told her story, not for revenge, not for closure, but so that the next victim who called for help wouldn't have to spend their recovery fighting for their right to be believed. She and Aaron eventually married. They spoke out, publicly, repeatedly, because the system failed them, and they wanted to make sure the world knew exactly how. This case didn't just expose one man's crime. It exposed a crack in the way we treat victims when their story sounds too strange for comfort. Because sometimes, the truth is stranger than fiction, and the job of an investigator, of all of us, is to follow the evidence, even when it leads somewhere we didn't expect. Outro. Audience hook. So I want you to think about something before you go. If Denise's story had never been confirmed, if Matthew Muller had never been caught, would you have believed her? Be honest. Because the way we answer that question says a lot about how we treat the people who need us most. Leave your thoughts below, and if this story stayed with you, share it. Because Denise spent years fighting to be heard. The least we can do is listen.